Hey, I want to take some time today to put together a very rambly, sometimes heated video here. And I want to ask everyone to bear with me. You might see some edits through this video. That's because I probably got so far off topic that I forgot what I was talking about. And I'll have to splice some things together. But by the time I'm done here today, I'm hoping this will be reasonably coherent and make reasonable sense. So bear with me. What I want to talk about today is, of course, the election. And I want to talk about how I think that the real losers last night, regardless of who wins the presidency, is the Democrats. They are the losers. Because they had their whole world shattered last night. You could watch it. You could watch the people, the news pundits be like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Of course you don't understand, because you don't understand people and you don't understand issues. So what I wanted to talk about is why I really do believe that the Democrats were the big losers last night, and hopefully they will learn from that. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I don't want the Democrats to learn. Maybe they might win elections. But if they learn the lessons that they should from this, then it might not matter if they do win elections, because they won't be such dickheads when they do. Their policies won't be so bad, because there's a lot of lessons here they should learn. One is, no one wants their far left garbage. No one wants to be lectured by Lady Gaga or preached to by Rose McGowan or some other disconnected, isolated millionaire who lives in a fantasy world and wants to tell the rest of us how we should behave. None of us want that, period. I don't want to have James Woods tell me how to live. I definitely don't want Lady Gaga telling me how to live. No one does. So cut that shit out. Everyone's tired of the far left bullshit. I'm not saying, oh, nobody wants healthcare, nobody wants education, etc. I think we all do. I know I'm a person who I wish someone a lot smarter than me would come up with a way that everyone in this country, regardless of the color of their skin, could have access to healthcare, could have access to education. But here's the thing, because this is America, and I believe in the freedoms of America, and I believe the Constitution is what safeguards our freedoms, someone who comes up with that stuff, it's going to have to be constitutional. I might look at a plan and go, wow, that plan would give everyone education. That plan would get everyone health care. That would really level the field for everyone. But it violates the Constitution. Then I'd have to throw it away. Because that's just the way this country works, and I wish more people would start thinking like that, regardless of what side you're on. You don't get to deny other people their individual freedoms and liberties just because it's beneficial to a certain group, especially not a minority group. So, like I said, no one wants the left-wing garbage anymore. No one wants the preaching from people anymore. We just don't want it. No one wants it, left or right, really. I think you even turned off some of the people on the left with that. Another thing I'm hoping the Democrats learn is no one cares about your anti-gun bullshit. People aren't worried about it. I'm not saying everyone out there is pro-gun. Believe me, I'm not. I'm saying we have an uphill battle for gun rights in this country. But it's not on most people's minds. When you ask them, hey, what are the top 5 things you're thinking about this election? They don't say guns. So when you're out there like, we're going to take everybody's semi-automatic weapons. We're going to take everybody's magazines, blah, blah, blah. Who are you preaching to? Who are you trying to convert? Basically, it looks like you're trying to convert none of your electorate because most of them don't care. The ones that do are the far left people that are already on your side because Rose McGowan told them to be. So what good is that garbage? What good is the anti-gun garbage? Now, I'm not saying it's going to stop. I know it's not. And I'm not saying we're safe. We're definitely not safe. I know a lot of people right now, there's 2 camps of people right now in this country. There's people that are like, Biden looks like he's going to win. The world's over. No, the world's not going to be over because Biden wins. And then there's also the people that say, we held on to the Senate. Gun rights are safe for 2 more years. No, gun rights are not safe for 2 more years. Politicians are not on our side. Neither of those lines of thinking are correct. But like I say, I don't know who the Dems are trying to win with the anti-gun stuff, but they're not winning anybody. They're just pushing people away from them. People in the middle, because no one on their side of the argument cares. People on the other side do care, even if it's only like 5% of us. That's 5 more percentage points you're going to lose by. And if you lose by 2, that 5% kind of mattered now, didn't it? So stop with the anti-gun shit. The biggest, well, let's deal with something not quite as big now, but let's deal with immigration. This open borders idea. And they think, oh, if we're open borders and we say, oh, those poor Hispanics, we got to let them in no matter what, even if they're criminals or whatever. We got to pretend like none of them are criminals. Well, that's garbage. Anyone who used to live there knows probably a whole lot of them are criminals or cartel members or blah, blah, blah. Just like, if you go to a poor part of America, hey, a lot of criminals, drug dealers, etc. there. Be it a trailer park in West Virginia or, some rundown inner city in Detroit. Either one, you're going to probably run into a criminal element. So pretending that that's just not a thing, that pisses people off. That loses the Hispanic vote. They're wondering why are we losing Hispanics? Because they don't want your bullshit either. To paraphrase one of the great American philosophers, who, if you're educated, you'll know who I'm talking about here and you'll understand what they're saying. Alanis Morissette, who I'm talking about. She said, it's like a free ride when you've already paid. Well, Hispanics that are here, they've already fucking paid. They already got on the bus, paid their fare, and sat down. And that's like now they pull up to another part of town and the bus driver goes, free fares for everybody outside the bus. Well, that's not fair to the people inside the bus that already paid. The people who came here legally, they already did the work. They don't want to hear now that, hey, no one else is going to have to do the work. They want them to go through the same process they went through. They're proud of the process they went through. They're proud of the fact they put the effort in. They're proud of the fact that they're Americans now. And they are Americans. I don't like to even call them Hispanic Americans. I just like to call them Americans. And if you want to say of Hispanic descent, fine. But they're Americans. And they want people down there, they understand, yeah, there's some bad places in the world. And those people should have an opportunity to come to America and make something of themselves. But they should do the same things I did. They should go through the same process I did. So this whole open borders bullshit, who is that winning you? It isn't winning over the Hispanics that you want. In fact, it's showing that you're losing them. So what's the point? Once again, is it to win over the people on the far left that are going to vote for you no matter what? Because like I said, Lady Gaga told them to. No, you ain't going to win them over. And I think even people to the right of the far left that are still on the left, but they're right of the far left, they don't want free immigration either. They want people to come here knowing those people are not criminals. Those people are likely going to be able to perform a job, be it physical labor or a profession. They're going to be able to earn a living. They're either going to be working class, blue collar, white collar, whatever, but they're going to come here, they're going to work, and they're going to be proud to be an American because they put the effort in to do it. That's all they want. Even on the left, I think. So I don't understand this whole Hispanics, or we just got to let them come and none of them are bad guys. And if you say they are, if you point that out, you're some kind of monster and it's some kind of dog whistle. When is reality a dog whistle? I don't get it. So that's another thing I think they need to stop doing. This whole fucking immigration thing. Drop it. Let immigration specialists handle immigration. Let the people who know what we need to do to protect our country, protect our sovereignty, protect the integrity of our systems, let them handle that. We don't need a bunch of bleeding heart leftists telling us how to do that. And believe me, I'm a bleeding heart leftist when it comes to some things. Animal rights, children, elderly. Yeah, I'm bleeding heart when it comes to stuff like that. But I temper it. Like I've said before, I still understand we live in a nation of rules governed by a constitution, and we got to follow those. And I think we can always, if we're creative and intelligent, we can find ways to not violate the Constitution, but still do good things for people. And I wish the Democrats would catch on to that. And one thing I'm going to get right here, I'm not saying Republicans are all right and Democrats are all wrong, because Republicans have to start doing some stuff too. And I'll talk about that at the very end. But the biggest thing I want to talk about right now that I think the Dems have been schooled on, and why they were so depressed last night, while they're like, oh, why does 50% of the country disagree with us? Why are they so mean? And I even saw some of them go, it's like, well, it looks like half America's racist. No, it's not because half America's racist. It's because those other things I just talked about, and it's because you try to make everything about race. It's like I say something that's just factually correct and people are like, you're a racist. Like if you say, hey, yeah, black people are arrested at a much higher rate than white people, but they also commit the crimes at a much higher rate. So that statistic should follow suit. Suddenly you're a racist for pointing out reality. Not everything's about race. In fact, continuing to make everything about race makes it more of an issue because it makes people keep thinking about race. And it makes people angry Because here's a little secret for you. Racism is a problem, and the right needs to admit that, yeah, racism is still a problem. Anyone who says racism isn't a thing anymore, well, they're retarded. But it isn't the biggest problem this country faces, not even close. I wouldn't even put it in the top 100. Maybe 99. It might make the top 100. But it definitely ain't nowhere near the top. And when the left keeps pretending like it is, when they make everything about race, if you say, hey, that person needs to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, they're like, well, you wouldn't say that if they were white. You know, that bullshit. I would say it to anyone in the same situation. If someone drops out of high school, decides to sell drugs, and because it's easier and they can drive a fancier car, I don't care if they're white, they're black, they're brown, they're green, whatever, or orange. Now, I guess that's a new color nowadays. Some people are orange, especially in Hollywood and the White House. I would say the same thing. Stop taking the easy way out. Make the hard choices. Do the things you got to do to make yourself better. Everyone in this country right now has an opportunity to be better. The poorest person in West Virginia can find some way to get out of poverty. I did it by joining the military. It was that stepping stone, that step that got me to a little further and further away from poverty every year. Well, every decade, let's say, because it was way more than a year. I was still poor. But you know what I'm saying? There are means for everyone to pull themselves out. But you can say, well, some people can't do that because they have felony records. Well, then they shouldn't have committed felonies. You know, I mean, there's consequences for actions. Let's quit trying to take away all consequences for actions just because we want to pretend like we're not racist. Everything's not about race. And when you pretend it is, when you pretend, let's just say this, poverty is universal. It's not got to do with the color of your skin in this country. In fact, there's more poor white people than poor black people. And when poor white people, in a trailer park in West Virginia, I keep using that. Let's say Mississippi now this time, so I'm not discriminating. Poor white people in Mississippi, they can commiserate with poor black people in Detroit or, Chicago or wherever they're at. They can understand. They can say, yeah, I know what those struggles are like. I know what it's like to, right out of high school, have to get a job because you can't afford to go to school and don't have any real skills because there's no opportunity in your area. There's no jobs you can get locally. It's either join the military or nothing. I understand that. They can say that to them. They can say, we face some of the same struggles. But then, and race isn't a part of that. They commiserate with each other based on their struggles as human beings, regardless of the amount of melanin in their skin. But then when those poor white people in, Iuka, Mississippi or Huntington, West Virginia, someplace like that, when they see on the news all the time people like Pelosi and the Democrats pretending like that the only poor people that need help are the blacks and the minorities, they say, well, what about me? I want my kid to go to school. I want to feed my kids too. And I understand their problem. But why are you gearing all the solutions to them? Making it all about race. It's not about race. It's more about economy and having the financial opportunities, like having a trade school I can go to after high school, having an education program where I can do community service or join the military and get an education and better myself. All of those things, those need to be done. And race doesn't play into that. If we got it to where every person had the same opportunities, well, then we could stop thinking about fucking race. Because I don't think racism is as big a problem as a lot of people make it out to be. The reason people are still suffering from the days of bad racism is because a lot of them don't have the opportunity to get out of where they're at. If we provided the opportunity, I think most would. Black or white. Like Jared Kushner said, and he got a lot of shit for this. And believe me, I don't like Jared Kushner. I think he's the poster child for white privilege, basically. Rich white privilege. But he said, if you give people the opportunity, those people can get out of poverty and blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing here. But he said, but they have to want to, is basically what he said. For anyone they have to want to do it. And that's 100% correct. You can put the systems in place. You can throw that lifeline out there, but they got to fucking grab it. If someone's drowning and you throw them a lifeline and they're like, no, you come get me. You come get me. Well, they're probably going to drown. That's reality. And if we stopped making it about race, like, oh, well, we have to go get them because they're black or they're Hispanic, whatsoever. Just throw them the fucking lifeline. The same lifeline you would throw any other poor person, period. And let them pull themselves to shore. I think most people feel better about that. I know I'd feel better if someone said, hey, here's a rope, and I pulled myself out of the water than I would, went limp and let someone drag me out. So let's give everybody that opportunity to help themselves. That's what we need to start doing in this country. Stop making it about racism. Because people on the right and left are fucking sick of racists. They don't like them. But you know what else they don't like? They don't like being called a fucking racist every time they acknowledge reality. It's like, like I said, the right has to recognize that police violence is a problem. There's some of the things the right has to do. But the left has to stop pretending like, that violence is solely geared at minorities. No, it's pretty much proportionate. Police are assholes pretty much depending on who they're dealing with. A white cop or a black cop is just as likely to shoot a black person, regardless of the color of their skin. And a white cop or a black cop are just as likely to abuse somebody who they're arresting whatsoever, regardless of the color of their skin. Just so happens they interact more with people with more melanin in their skin because of economic systems in place and cultural issues in place, etc. So let's start dealing with the real issues. Like I said, let's not pretend police violence isn't a thing, but let's not pretend it's just against minorities. Let's stop pretending racism isn't a thing, but let's stop pretending like it's the biggest thing, because it isn't. It's just, there's so many things in this country, so many problems that we need to fix that we're not going to fix if we start looking for black solutions and white solutions. It's not going to happen. We just have to look for solutions. And we have to look for solutions not for Hispanic Americans or Black Americans. We have to look for solutions for disadvantaged Americans, regardless of the color of their skin. And until the Democratic Party learns this, you're going to continue to see erosion. Stop getting on your high horse and thinking we're going to win big because we're right. Of course we're right. I mean, who could disagree with us? We cater to every special interest group there is and treat them like they're made of porcelain. Of course we're going to win. No, that's not what anybody wants. Learn that or you're going to continue to lose. And people on the right, stop digging in so hard on bullshit. Don't say racism isn't an issue, because that loses a couple percentage points of votes when people see that. And when you're losing by 0.5 percentage point, those couple of percentage points mattered. Stop pretending like police violence isn't a thing. I love the police. Licking their fucking boots. Because police violence is a thing. It just doesn't have anything to do with race. It's got to do with governmental control of the population regardless of what color you are. In fact, they see white people as more of a threat than they do black people. You know why? Because more white people own guns. More white people tend to be involved in militias. Now, there are some black militias out there, which I'm not a member of course, so I can't speak to them. Because I'm not black, actually. People ask me, well, are you afraid of them? No, why would I be afraid of a black militia? The only time I'd be afraid of that militia particularly, is if I was like standing innocently in front of one of them while they were handling a loaded firearm. That's the only time I'd be afraid of them. But like I said, stop. Both sides need to stop. But right now, I think the Democrats are the ones that really need to learn the lesson. If you want to be better, if you want to win, and you don't want to have to continue to keep saying it's because that's racist when we're obviously not. Start learning. Everything's not about racism. Everything, nobody wants free immigration. No one wants just open borders. Well, except for libertarians, because they think the market will sort it out. But most people don't want that. Most people don't want what you're selling. They don't want to be lectured, any of that shit. So learn those lessons. People on the right learn those lessons. People on the left really learn those lessons because you've lived in your bubble for so long that you think these things are right. They're not right. They're just your opinions. And everyone is sick of being told how wrong we are, even though there's just as many of us as there is of you. Like I said, I've said many times, there's no blue states. There's no red states. They're all purple. Even in Texas, it was almost down the middle, red and blue. It's purple. It won by a little bit. There's very few states that are dark purple, like ones that are more red than purple, and then there's some that are more blue than red, but they're all still one shade of purple or another. I ain't never seen a state that went 100% for one party. The most I ever see is like 60-40, and that's not a giant split. And still, the 60 and the 40 probably agree on 80% of things. So like I said, and I don't want to get into that, like I said, rambly video here, but I think the left didn't win much at all last night. Even if they get the presidency, they don't have the Senate. So they need to learn their lessons. They didn't lose because they're always right and we're always racist. They lost because they're not paying attention to what the real problems are that this country faces. Hey, this is the Yankee Marshal, just reminding everyone out there that if you disagree with anything I say in any one of my videos, be it something political or tactical, I am going to give you the opportunity to come talk to me face to face instead of just having to put stuff in comment sections where someone might not even read them. You can come in one of my live chats and tell me off in person. You just have to send an email to shootingleftofcenter@gmail.com, and in the subject line of that video put slap the yank, and then I will get back with you and set up a time where you can come in one of the live chats and tell me off face to face.